Welcome back. You are still with us, and we have come to the last part of the first hour of Morning Rush, which is our literature review. And I'm joined in the studio by Audrey Chirenja. Good morning, lady.
Good morning, Maurice. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. So the title of this book, The Milkmen, just brings back a flood of memories. Honestly, Kudara, we used to get this delivered to your house or filled up. You know, you get the empty bottles, you keep them outside, and someone comes and tops it up.
Yes.
And you have milk for 5 cents or something that was.
Yes, so we had the milkman in the bottles, and then we had the baker man coming
With the bread.
with the
all
bread,
sorts, exactly.
yeah. And then at school, in junior school, we'll get the little packets of milk.
Yeah.
I think we're given at break time.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is absolutely fantastic. And, you know, that's what I thought the book was going to be about, talking about how milk was delivered by the milkmen, what they got up to. But it is actually a different trajectory, this book, and it's poetry.
It's poetry. I know we don't review a lot of poetry because, yeah, we do have a few poets.
Do we have an understanding of poetry? I mean, even as a local community, when it comes to books?
I think not much. I must even admit, even myself, I've dabbled into poetry. I've done poetry, a poetry book, but I'm still learning. And I was glad to read this book because he introduces this new aspect, commercial poetry. That's what he calls it.
What does that mean in itself?
I think from his background, because he's a qualified accountant, used to work in the commercial field, and he even says that he's trying to demystify the notion that only people who did arts in school or who are artistic can write poetry. But we have one he's writing in, and is very deep and very thoughtful, and he's got a different variety of poems to delve in. Yes,
I like this one that says, "My Hennessy says that I took a sip is a white lie, that I admired a bottle full is the truth told." So there's a little bit of humor in there as well as a seriousness. Tell us some of the topics that he delves into.
Okay, maybe let me talk about the author a bit. So he's Brian Tawanda Manyati, and he goes by the name Tawanda Ryan. I was just looking at the spelling of the name Tawanda. Tawanda. I'm reminded of one of the Braxton sisters. Her name is Tawanda.
Tawanda,
yes. So his background, like I said, is in the accounts background, and he's also part of a trust called the Sailors Trust, which is a group of poets. Some of them are based here, some of them are based abroad. And this book was republished in the US.
Right.
Yeah, so he did his first publication here in Zim, and then he got someone else to republish. So I think having read the poems, he's so diverse, like I said. You've got the milkman, where he does talk about milk, Marisa.
Okay.
Yes. And
tell us about that. I was waiting for that, because look, you think about hunger, and some of the topics he's talking about in the poetry has to do with nourishment. Yes. Nourishment of the body. So what is that about the milk part? Tell us that first.
So we might as well just read it a little bit. So it starts, "The milkman. My childhood days. Milkmen were framed for door-to-door deliveries. The white, thick tea days, without artificial creamers, goat and cow milk it were, buttered bread days, or whole wheat loaves." So you see now, he does talk about that.
He delves into that.
And he's got this nostalgic feel, like he's thinking about his yesteryears with fondness, and that's how come he wrote this poem. Yeah.
Wow. And some of the other themes, we were getting into that. What are these themes?
Okay, in terms of themes, we've got hunger, like you rightly said, addressing the hunger or food access challenge that we have. And then there's praise of poetry and nature. And then there's love, celebrating partners present or past. And then he talks about internet and mobile technologies, embracing technological changes. He actually has a poem called Zoom In.
Yeah.
And he talks about how during COVID, how people were restrained in their houses. And then that's when the whole social media craze hit in.
Yeah.
And you're zooming into a picture, you're zooming, yes.
And you're on Zoom.
Yes, and it's all about Zoom, the Zoom meetings and all that. So he talks about that.
So he's basically painting a picture of life happening now, but in his way of expressing the artistic side of himself.
100%. That's what it's doing.
Okay.
And we've got another poetry called Africa Love Letters.
Yes,
you know,
I wanted to actually had my finger on that one. What is this about?
so you can find it and actually get into it. And
I
then,
had it here.
yeah, and then there's my king size bed. So while you look for that one, I'll talk about this one. I found it very fascinating. You know how this trend, there's a queen size, king size bed. And I know for most women, they'll adorn their beds with all these nice things and all that. But then he's sort of asking, how many hours do you actually sleep in that bed?
Right.
And do you actually really enjoy that bed? I know some people who do enjoy their beds because they'll, even during the day, they'll be...
They're in their room and
But for some people, they only sleep in it for a few hours at a time.
Yeah, 5 hours. I was speaking to a friend of mine, and then she says, well, I don't think my bedroom is important because I never spend time in there. I'm always at work, and she's literally 5 hours sleep, and then that's that, you know?
Yeah.
And you have to pay whole rent for that. Anyways, yeah, let's get back to Africa Love Letters. Okay. Ours was arc entry, but as a trio, right when a duet would be in everyone else's sanction. Call it a love triangle. Ours was an equilateral, sat me as its center pivot in a union of sorts, blessed my family's anointments. Okay, what is he talking about?
Yeah, very deep. But it's just trying to paint a picture of how, you know, the modern love letters, you know, back in the day, it was a proper letter which would be written.
Yes.
And then you'd find someone to send it with, and it would be deep and have all these paragraphs. But these days, you know, we get the whole WhatsApp.
WhatsApp text.
Yeah, I like you. HUD, how you doing? These are the modern kids, you know? And it's not as deep and thoughtful as this. And
I remember in high school, that was our form of, you know, during the lessons, you'd write your letter and have a little heart, spray your perfume on it, and pass it to the person you like when you walk into your different classes. So that was really a nice, rich growing up, I guess, compared to what's happening now.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so where do we find this book?
Okay, this book is on LinkedIn. He's on LinkedIn, social media, Facebook. That's Brian Manyati. B. Tawanda Manyati on Instagram, and he also put his phone number 0772-815-211. You can get the book on Amazon, that's online, and then for hard copies, for now he's actually selling by himself.
Okay,
and
how much is a copy?
The price of the book is $10. Chete.
That's it, $10 chete, guys. And we did hear from Audrey where to find this book, so get your hands on it. It's very artistic. It's a different artistic expression from Brian as he delves into some of the social issues and issues that we go through in life. Very knowledgeable indeed. Audrey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Marisa. Always a pleasure.
Yes, see you next week.